Holy shit.
I tried the ketogenic diet for 30 days, so in this video I'm going to talk about why I did it, how I did it, and what happened when I did it. Coming right up. If you haven't already heard what the ketogenic diet is, it's a very high fat diet with very low carbs, and the idea is you replace the energy source in your body from carbohydrates so that your body runs on fats instead. I'm not a food scientist or anything, I just like to experiment with different diets because I want to know what the best way to function is for me and how I think better, how I perform better. So that was the reasoning going into trying out the ketogenic diet.
Ladies and gentlemen, very good. Today, once again, welcome aboard the Untitled Chapter.
I was noticing that on my regular diet, when I'm eating pasta, bread, all of that, every time I would eat a meal with a lot of carbs in it, I would just tank. I'd want to sleep in the middle of the day. If I woke up at 8 in the morning and I had a breakfast, I would want to go back to sleep. So I suspected it might have something to do with all the carbs in my diet. So I wanted to go into a low carb diet, and if I was going super low carb anyway, I felt, you know what, let's give this keto thing a shot. Now, because your carbs are so low, that means no bread, no spaghetti, nothing with a high amount of carbs, and especially no sugar. Up until that point, I was eating a lot of sugar, and that meant I had to completely cut it out. So for the whole 30 days, I had no bread, almost no carbs other than my vegetables, and zero sugar, like none at all. So all of the results that you were seeing, keep in mind that it was me going from a not very healthy diet to a ketogenic diet and to a diet that had absolutely no sugar in it. Quitting sugar is also something I really wanted to do, so the ketogenic diet gave me a good enough reason to cut out sugar, cut out carbs, to see if my energy level goes up and I can avoid that crash in the middle of the day and just get more work done. Now, to me, eliminating carbs altogether didn't make a whole lot of sense because ever since I could remember, I've been having carbs. So my plan, the way I was going to tackle it, was getting as many vegetables as I can to replace the lack of carbs, and also upping my fats. I've never been someone who ate a lot of fats. I wasn't a huge fan of peanut butter or anything. Predominantly, all of my calories in this diet were coming from fats, so I upped the avocados, I upped the peanut butter. Everything had cheese or butter or olive oil in it, so I was really focusing on getting as many fats as I could. As for the protein, I had a lot of beef involved because it's very high fat. I was cooking a lot of chicken thighs. It comes with the skin. I was frying the skin as well. So it was high fat, medium protein, and very low carbs. To give you an idea of what my average meal would look like, I would usually have one big bowl of salad, whether it's broccoli, spinach, lettuce, anything of that sort, and I would combine it with one of my protein sources, and usually it would be a whole ton of beef that I would just stir fry, or it would be a can of tuna that again I would stir fry and mix it in with the salad. So it was a lot of salad with salad dressing, of course zero carb salad dressing, and some sort of meat source to go along with that, and I would side it with an avocado or even have peanut butter in my protein shakes. So that would be all of my fats, and I would cook all of it in butter or oil, so that would really drive up the fat content. And of course I would have to top everything with cheese, and I was eating a lot of cheese throughout this whole diet because it was such a big component of all the fats in my diet. Now, when I was starting out, initially the biggest challenge I was having was the no sugar part, right? Because you're not allowed to have any of it. Your carbs have to be super low. I was getting sugar cravings, and then a few days after that, maybe a week into it, I was really craving bread. I wanted some sort of crunchy taste in my mouth. I was having a lot of meat, I was having a lot of salads, but I didn't really have that sandwich crunch, you know. I was really missing that. Just going off of carbs altogether cold turkey was definitely a bit of a transition for me. Once I hit that 2-week mark, that's when my body kind of got really used to it. It wasn't an alien concept not to have carbs for me. And I was really concerned about that. I said, how can you just completely ignore carbs altogether and just focus on getting more fats and more protein and very, very little carbs? But I was surprised to see how better my body was running compared to before, because I would always have that sugar crash. So my energy levels were a lot more stable. I wasn't getting that energy crash in the middle of the day I usually would. I would have a whole salad. I would have a lot of meat along with it, and I wouldn't feel bogged down. That being said, the energy level wasn't particularly amazing. It's not like I went from feeling completely bogged down to, scaling buildings and becoming Spider-Man. It was just like I felt a steady blood sugar level in my body. I could tell that I'm not getting bummed out after I eat. I just felt normal. So that in itself was an improvement for me, but it was nothing that's going to give you superpowers. And with the 2-week mark as well, I wasn't really craving carbs as much. I found that I could go out and have a salad. I could come home and I'd know exactly what to eat. I didn't really have that craving as much as I did in the first week, and I think that's because my body got used to not having sugar, not having bread, not having spaghetti. So over time, you become more used to it. Every now and then, my sugar craving did come back. It was like, hey man, you want some sugar? And then like, no, resisted for a while. And then the day 2, hey man, you want some sugar? And that would just happen again and again. So sometimes what I would do is I would go and buy myself a protein bar or something. Admittedly, it did have some carbs, but still on the very low side of things. When I was having my sugar cravings, I went to the nearby protein store and I found one of these. It's actually called a keto cookie. So it has relatively low carbs, but it's still sweet enough for you to satiate that carb feeling that you want, that I really need to eat something like that. So it only has 2 grams of sugar in this. You also have other brands like Quest. As you can see, I've gone through a number of these, but I try to limit it to 1 a day because one of these has like 15 grams of carbs, and if you have too many of them, you're exceeding your carb limit. So these can really help you out if you're having a sugar craving without actually having the sugar. I had some strawberries in there as well, a very, very low amount of sugar, very, very low amount of carbs, and that also went to helping my sugar craving. Now, I've been someone who knows how to cook in the kitchen. I can get by, but I don't really know how to cook without a carb source. I don't really know what to do when there's no rice involved, no pasta involved. And especially when you jack up all the vegetables, I've never eaten this much vegetables in my life. So it really made me be more creative in the kitchen. I was making omelets maybe 6 times a week, so I got pretty good at my omelet recipes. I knew the exact temperature. I got really good at mixing my salads. I knew which dressing I liked better. I experimented with a couple of different dressings, and then you become more creative with the ingredients you have. You start baking things more. You start cooking things at a different heat, using some ingredients that you wouldn't have used before. So I found that my skill set in the kitchen actually got a lot better because I wasn't eating the same chicken breast thing over and over again, and it really made me experiment with different things in my diet. So I really enjoyed the cooking aspect of things, and I liked how automated it was. I knew the exact groceries I would get every week. You have to get some fats and you have to get some meats. That's kind of all I have to do. And then I would know, okay, you're gonna eat an omelet, you're gonna eat a tuna salad, you're gonna have some sort of a stir-fried beef, or you're gonna have chicken thighs. That's kind of what I was rotating. So it was like 1 of 5 meals that I was having every other week, and it became very automated for me. I didn't have to put too much thought into what I was going to eat, and that made it easier for me to not mess up my diet. If I don't know what I'm going to be eating, then I'm like, oh, you know what, there's pizza across the street, there's this across the street, I can go eat that. But because I was very specific in what I was supposed to eat, it really helped me adhere to my diet. The other thing with this whole 30-day challenge as well was that I was also doing meal prepping. So I would get all my groceries, I would do all the meal prep for like the 2 or 3 days ahead, and all of those meals would sit in the fridge for me. So I wasn't messing up on my diet, because even if I was going out somewhere, I knew there was going to be food in the fridge waiting for me, as opposed to if I went out and I said, oh, I'm gonna have to go home and cook and all of that, it would have been more effort for me, and I would have just gotten something that's much faster instead. So the whole meal prep thing really made it a lot easier, because I could get all the chicken fried in one go, get all the salad made in one go, and just put it in a little bit of a Tupperware and put it in my lunchbox when I'm heading out. Got back from the gym, a keto diet. I'm tired, man. I gotta tell you, I'm absolutely exhausted. I had to take a little bit of a break as well. Just sit on the sides for like an extra 2 minutes to get my breath back, my energy back. I think it's just a tough session. I don't think it has anything to do with the ketogenic diet. Not having enough nutrients or anything like that. I'm still doing okay. I'm feeling pretty damn hungry. I think that's one thing I've noticed. Like, even though my fats are really high, my body just wants some sort of carbs. It wants some sugar. It wants some instant source of energy. The moment I'm out of the gym, I'm just looking at all the cookie stores, the protein bars, whatever, anything I can get my hands on. So I really have to just willpower through it and just tell my brain, okay, no, you're gonna skip this street, skip that street, go straight home, eat your goddamn keto meal, and that's it. Skip all these sugary foods. But it's right after the gym that I feel like I'm really craving all the sugar. Otherwise it's fine. Otherwise I'm okay. Now, one concern I thought I was going to have was the effect it's going to have on my workouts, because I always heard you need carbohydrates to source yourself when you're going to the gym and you're going to use a lot of that energy. But I was like, if I don't have any carbs, how would it affect my workouts? And to be very honest with you, I felt completely fine. I was actually very surprised at how sometimes I wouldn't have eaten anything at all. I would be in a fasted state and I would go and work out. I would go do my martial arts, and I was just as tired as I usually would have been, but I wasn't really lacking any energy. I wasn't really feeling like my focus was off. I wouldn't say my recovery was any better, which I was kind of hoping it would have been. My muscles would be sore for quite a while still. Like, I was expecting some sort of improvement, hopefully, with that, but I didn't see too much of that. I might say it even got a little worse. Like, it was taking me a lot longer to recover. But that also could be because of some days I would go to the gym 3 times a week, some days I would go 2 times a week. So I find that if I don't go to the gym very often, I get sore for more often. So might have nothing to do with a ketogenic diet at all, but thought it's worth mentioning. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons of doing the ketogenic diet. And realistically, I think I did it for more than a month. I did it for maybe a month and a week coming into it. So I wasn't really doing it to lose weight, because as you can see, I don't really have a whole lot of weight to lose, but I did measure my weight anyway. So when I was starting the diet, I was somewhere around 158, and then I cut my sugar, I cut my carbs really low, and when I checked my weight about a month into it, all right, it's the final day of keto. I'm going to step on the weighing scale to see what the weight difference has been. We started at around 158 pounds, so let's see what it looks like now.
Let's do that 3 times. Okay. That's what it looks like. We got 149.2.
Down from 158 in just over a month. That's pretty crazy, man. That's pretty crazy. Cutting out sugar and carbs had that big of an effect on my weight. I had lost 8 pounds. Yes, I had lost that much weight, and I was quite surprised to see how much weight I had lost. Okay, and admittedly, it's not all fat content. A lot of it is probably water weight, but between cutting the sugar out and cutting the carbs down, that's a drastic amount of weight to lose. And I would even say that's a little too much weight to lose, but it's interesting because I added no extra exercise. I was working out the same or even less in some cases, and I had lost that much weight. So it really goes to show, if you cut down some carbs or you cut down some sugar, the sugar might have been a pretty big player in this as well, how much of an impact that alone can have without adding any extra exercise to your regimen. If you're looking to lose some weight, you know what, cutting some sugar out, cutting carbs out, and upping the fats, it might seem very counterintuitive that I'm eating more fats, aren't I gonna gain more weight? But not in my instance, at least. I actually ended up losing 8 pounds, and that's actually non-trivial. It's not like it's a fluke. You step on a weighing scale and one day somehow you lost weight. 8 pounds is a significant difference, and because I had been tracking my weight every single day, I know what the variation of weight looked like. I really enjoyed going to the grocery store and going to the exact aisles, because I knew what I was going to be buying. I knew I was going to buy avocados, almond milk, peanut butter, and my meats for my fats and my protein. And it's the same groceries again and again. I didn't have to go around the aisles for 45 minutes. Everything felt like it was a very autonomous process. I really enjoyed it. And same thing with my meals. You come home, you have the same ingredients you did last week. You know exactly what you're going to make out of it, and then you can add some creative spins on that as well. And I like on this diet how you have to eat so many vegetables, because I had not been getting enough vegetables in my diet. I really had to up my vegetable game, and I feel like during I was on the ketogenic diet, my vegetables have probably been the highest they have ever been. Ever. Another thing I noticed, and I don't know if this is a pro or not, but I wasn't going to the bathroom for number 2 a whole lot. Like, it's not like I was constipated or anything, but it just, I wasn't going as often as I would, and I wasn't having one of those straight out of hell sessions on the toilet. It was just very calm in and out, and like, I don't know, I'm comparing poop quality here, but I just like my poop better when I was on keto. Now, the main reason I did keto was for a mental boost, to feel more clear in the head and be more creative and not get those crashes that I was getting for carbs. And I think for that purpose, it definitely worked. I wasn't getting any crashes in the middle of the day, and I was able to function on a lot more normal level than I would, but it didn't do any wonders for my energy level. It was fine. So if you're looking at keto for mental clarity, it might not be the best solution. I'm sure there's other things you can do, but I do think removing that insulin spike you get from eating a lot of carbs will definitely help your energy levels. Okay, now for the things that I didn't like too much about keto. Okay, number one, there's a lot of meat on this diet, and I love meat, okay? I love my chicken, I love my beef, I love all of that stuff, but there was just too much of it. I was eating beef, I was eating chicken, I was eating eggs, and again and again and again. Just about every single meat had to have some sort of meat source in it, or maybe I'm doing it wrong, I don't know, but that's how I was getting my protein, and that's how I was getting a lot of my fats as well. And honestly, I got pretty tired of eating meat all the time. I never thought it was possible as someone who really enjoys eating meat, especially when I'm making minced beef burgers and I can't really put it between a bun. I was eating in a lettuce wrap. It was really good for the first while, but eventually you really miss that crunch. At least I did. I really wanted something to bite into, and I feel like eating meat just by itself wasn't doing it for me as much. The other thing I was finding was that it's ridiculously expensive because I was buying so much meat, and the meat cost tends to be like 30 to 40% of my entire grocery bill. So because I was buying a lot of eggs, meat, chicken, all of that, my grocery bill was definitely inflated. I feel like if I had added some carbs in there, like some rice or even some bread, my grocery bill would have been a lot cheaper. Because for me, when I was eating carbs, it would keep me full, especially the complex carbs. But because I wasn't eating any oats, any whole grain bread or anything like that, all of my food was coming from high fat foods, and a lot of them, like avocados even, they're not cheap. They cost quite a bit to keep up, and when you're going grocery shopping every once in a while, and you're not feeling particularly full, I feel like it really costed me a lot of money. And I think on top of that, I also really got tired of butter and cheese, because there'd be cheese on everything. I was making everything in butter or olive oil, and I don't know, something about using that many animal products. I've never been someone who had an issue with it, but meat, cheese, butter, doing that again and again, for me, I didn't get so tired of it that I didn't want to do it anymore, but it definitely became a little redundant for me, to the point where I was like, okay, I gotta mix this up. I want to eat something else, right? So now that my 30 days are over with a ketogenic diet, what are my plans going forward, and what would I recommend you to do? For me personally, I felt like the experiment was great in the sense that my mental clarity was okay, my workouts did not suffer, and I lost a lot of weight. There is definitely something to say about reducing your carb intake and reducing your sugar intake to lose weight. Now, if I only cut out my sugar and not my carbs, would I have lost the same amount of weight? We'll never know, but combining the two, cutting both of them out, I definitely lost weight. So you can kind of pick and choose for your own diet, see what works. I also find that a ketogenic diet isn't exactly the friendliest diet when it comes to going out, because every time you're going out, you can't really go to the restaurants your friends want to go to. If you go there, the only thing you can eat is a salad, and how many times can you eat a salad when you go out? So I was getting really tired of not being able to go out with my friends and really enjoying the food. And for me, diets are supposed to be flexible. It's supposed to be something that I can do for the long run, not a 30-day thing. And these 30-day experiments for me are to try it out, see if it's something that I can work with on a day-to-day basis. And if I like it, I want to continue doing it, right? Now, the problem is, because there's no carb involved at all, I can't go out with my friends and enjoy food. If someone calls me to dinner, I can't say, hey, I'm not going to have any carbs. Eventually, there will come a time where I'll need to have some carbs, right? So for me personally, this wasn't the most flexible diet, and I find that for a lot of people who've been eating carbs, which I think is 99% of the human population, a lot of us are going to find it really hard to just stay off of carbs permanently. So if I can't find room for it in my diet regularly outside an experiment nature, for me personally, it's not going to be a permanent fit. And I think the biggest reason that I'm not going to continue with this is I'm just really tired of all the meat in my diet, and I'm spending way too much money on it. I think I can eat a very similar diet with some carbs incorporated to it and feel a lot fuller while saving a lot of money. So I'm not 100% sold on the whole ketones for energy as opposed to carbs, but I'm no scientist. I don't know how all that works. For me personally, between paying more money eating a lot of animal products, and just getting tired of eating the same thing again and again and having to sacrifice a little bit of my social life. I think for me, the ketogenic diet was great while it lasted, but I would like to transition into something else now. Now remember, this is just my experience with the ketogenic diet. You might have a completely different experience. You have a different body type, you have a different diet, you have different goals than I do. So even if it's not a good fit for me, it might be a really good fit for you. So what I'd like you to do is try it out yourself, or maybe if you have tried it out, let me know in the comments what you think. Or maybe I made some mistakes in my keto diet. I didn't know enough about it and I wasn't doing it right. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to be trying some more diets in the future as well. My 30-day vegan challenge is up next. I want to know what happens to my body when I cut out all animal products altogether. No meat, no cheese, no butter. So it's going to be pretty much a 180 from what I'm doing now, but I like doing more of these dietary experiments on myself, because at the end of the day, you can read one study saying one thing and another study saying another thing, but for me, unless I try it, I don't really know how I feel and how it benefits me in the long run. So if you want to see more of those videos, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I will be putting out a lot more diet related videos as well. Hopefully I will see you in those videos coming up. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.